Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I'm Tanis Coughlin from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I am an energy healer, intuitive energy healer channel. I do stuff. That's my typical phrase. I do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm here with Jennifer Tchaikovsky. Jen, would you like to say what stuff you do, please?
Yeah, stuff and more stuff. So I'm a registered psychotherapist. I am a certified Canadian counselor, intuitive life coach. I do energy stuff. I bring in all the energy and spiritual stuff to the mental health stuff and attempt to mesh that together in a way that hopefully makes sense to the people who want the stuff.
Well, and Jen has just received a beautiful award that is a worldwide award, worldwide recognition for your work. And,
yeah, that was quite amazing.
Yeah.
And humbling and just very honored to see something like that, like global recognition, recognizing the need for bringing the spiritual into the mental health world, right?
Yeah.
And being able to recognize that, you know, if we truly want wellness in our experience, we can't just work on the mind. We can't just work on the body. We really need to bring in all that we are.
That spiritual energetic piece, right? I mean, and we talk about that, both of us, I'm sure, with our clients, about how we have to really, if there's something going on, you got to look at the physical, you got to look at the mental, emotional, and you got to look at the energetic or the spiritual.
Yeah.
And you've got to have something going for each of them
Mm-hmm.
to make it, really work for you.
Well, and that's that true holistic healing approach, right?
Exactly.
We're not just trying to pick parts of ourselves to work with. We're really looking at the whole of what makes this.
Exactly. And so you designed a beautiful workbook for other psychologists, I think, right? In the EMDR, because I think that's part of what this was about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting, again, right? This piece where, you know, I wanted to develop something for my own practice so that I could use.
Yeah.
And as I was kind of asking for feedback on it and stuff, other therapists are like, I would like to use this too. And it kind of evolved into this whole thing. And then I thought, you know what, let's just put it out there to the world, make it really accessible, because a lot of these workbooks and stuff like that are quite expensive. And I just wanted to make it accessible so that it could help other therapists in their practice and help other clients who want to do this work. And it's been a beautiful experience.
So you shared it on Etsy. So you can find it on Jen's Etsy store. If you're a psychologist watching this and you want to use her EMDR workbook, that's where it is, right?
That is where it is. Yeah.
Beautiful. And so Kaylee had some wonderful things to say here. I've seen tons of psychologists over the years. Jen, you're the only one I've felt we've actually made progress instead of going in circles.
I am honored. Thank you.
Beautiful. And we've got some congratulations here from Laura.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And Laura's switched channels, but that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Gerald. Thank you for joining us. And he says that's one book.
Right, Jen? Yes, that's technically one book for practitioners, one book for the clients, because there's a client journal that goes with it. So yeah, we're getting there. There's a couple more on the way. We'll see how they unfold.
We need to work on one that we're working on too at some point. We have a few things we have to write.
Oh my gosh, there's so much.
Yeah, we got to find some time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a retreat weekend again for writing. That's what I'm thinking.
That would be that would definitely be called for.
Mm-hmm. So Fogopogo says hello and hope we had a good weekend. Thank you. And that we are both amazing and beautiful. Thank you so much. Lots of love. And she's got the fancy hearts. I just got the hand hearts.
No, your hearts are beautiful. I'm trying to do it for both of us. I just can't make it go over that.
Well, thank you.
But this comes from both of us. It's not from just me.
And Laura says she's missed the crystal of the week. There was one last week, and I will be putting one out again today as well. So you can stay tuned for that. So it's coming. Okay. And what have we got here? Hello, Annie. We have Annie with us.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Time, what's that? Yeah. What's time? I don't know what time is. Nobody knows what time is. It's a man-made concept, is it not? We don't really have time.
Our time concept is based on our evolution around the sun.
It is.
But time and space is not linear. So
that's right. That. So we can pop into there. Let's just pop in and visit there. Yeah, we do that in our dreams all the time, right?
Yeah. And actually our transit is going to touch on that.
Yes. You were saying there's a lot going on with the transits.
There's a lot going on, which we'll get to when we get there. We're just saying highs now. But.
Yeah. There's something that's happening right now that you might want to know about. There's an M-class solar storm that's just going on right now. It hit this afternoon. And so just to be aware of that, you might feel some stuff. It can affect the electronic business. Not business, but I mean the electronics.
The way they work or don't
work. The way they work or don't work. GPS, that kind of thing. Sending this lovely, plasma storm towards the earth. It's lovely. It doesn't affect us physically, right? It's not about that, but it is about the vibration of the earth. So it hits the atmosphere, which bumps us, which means, we get a little bit of a thing. Yes, it can. You're more likely to get it with the higher ones, but you can get some with M. That you get more of them with the R class or X class, I should say. Yeah. So we've got some of that going on. Actually, the Schumann's been pretty stable the last week or so, which is kind of nice. So we'll see how all of the storms the last couple of days kind of figure in, because we're supposed to be getting, there was a coronal mass ejection as well over the weekend that's supposed to be hitting us either later tonight or tomorrow morning. So we'll see how all of that happens as well and what that affects. But so far the Schumann has been fairly stable, which is kind of a nice thing. And that may have something to do with our big transits, because I know we have some big transits. A big hello from Kylie. So hello, Kylie, out to you as well from Australia. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Always good to have all these people joining us. We have the best chatters.
Awesome.
Like Gerald always says,
definitely.
Right? We have the best chatters. So welcome everyone.
Welcome.
So that's what I think we're in for in terms of the solar stuff. Energetically, I think there's been a shift over the weekend. We certainly had the shift astrologically, right, coming in, where Pluto has made that big change into Aquarius, and the starting of the age of Aquarius. So the age of Aquarius has begun, folks. Yes, exactly. Best chatters. So, Jen.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I'm going to start with saying Happy New Year. So remember earlier I had said that in the Rave astrology and all of that, the New Year doesn't happen until later in January. Well, today is the New Year in the calendar for human design and in the I Ching. And so it's really about the setting of intentions now, right? So we talked about before, New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. Maybe give it some time, let some more energies unfold, and then we'll get to that energy. And that's where we are right now. And because it's the new year and because it's about setting intentions, I wanted to spend a little bit more time talking about this gate. I'm going to geek out a little just because there's some sciencey stuff behind it and things like that I think are really valuable for us to understand. But I'm not going to get super into it, but enough for us to really appreciate what this energy is about.
I'm pretty sure you guys like it when she geeks out. So let's let her do that.
Yeah, so the energy that we've entered into is the gate 41. Now this is it's called start energy. Okay, so this is really cool because different archetypal names are put to this, like the originator, the dreamer, the creator. Richard calls it the prime emanation. And all the way down to our DNA, this is where we find the start codon. Okay. Awesome.
We have some support for the geek out mode.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's talk about genetics. Okay. Ooh. Yeah. I mean, because we talk about human design and we say, yeah, it's connected to our genetics, but I don't really share with you guys how or why. But each of the transits, each of the gene keys are connected to codons and codon rings in our genetic system, in our makeup. They're connected to body systems, organs, all of that kind of stuff. So today we're looking at genetic code. Now, genetic code is basically made up, if we were to break it into letters, a combination of 4 letters, the A, T, C, and G. Okay, and these are kind of the building blocks that build all of what we have in life. All right. And there's one particular arrangement of these that is kind of the signal to start a new build. And that's the ATG. Okay. That's this transit. It's the only one that has this in it. Nice. Okay. And Richard explains that. So Richard Rudd does the gene keys. So if I just say Richard, that's who I'm talking about. Explains that this arrangement acts like a front door key into our genetic code. Ooh. Okay. So we are now in the energy to actually open that door, get in there and go, okay, now what? What do we want to build? What do we want to create? Right? How do we want to move forward with this energy? And so when this sequence is found, the body goes, oh, okay, instructions to follow. And then it follows it and it begins to build on that. All right. So this gate really embodies the nature of bringing something new. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to do. So let's look at the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi. All right. So from a shadow perspective, the shadow of this gate is fantasy. Now, fantasy in and of itself isn't specifically a problem, but what we find is there's this pressure that's associated with this key that's about evolving. And it's evolving on such a deep level. But the problem is that it often gets distorted. Okay. So what ends up happening, sorry if you guys hear the dogs in the background, they've just decided to scramble. What happens is we distort it. And instead of this pressure to evolve, it becomes this kind of pressure to find happiness. Now, I can ask this right out, right? How many here have been like, I just want to be happy. I just want things to be okay. I just want to be able to have a good day, right? This pressure to bring things into our experience to make us happy, right? But that's not what this pressure is really meant for. It's meant to bring us to a place where we want to change and where we want to evolve, right? And so when we talk about like the wheel of samsara, right? This endless cycle of suffering, that's what this is looking at, right? This chasing of unfulfilled desires. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the happiness trap. It's a cool book, but in there they did this experiment, and so what they did is they had 2 groups of people, and the one group of people they put in a room and they said, just be happy. The other group of people they put in the room and they said, do whatever you want to do, right? So in the one group, they focused on being happy. And in the other group, they read books and they talked to each other and they listened to music and they did all these other activities. At the end, when everybody came out, they asked, were you happy? How did that show up for you? All that kind of stuff. Which group do you think was more happy? Right? The group that focused on happiness, or the group that just did things that made them happy?
Just did things that made them happy.
Right. And so this is the piece, right, where we get so caught up in this desire to find happiness. We're always thinking that it's something outside of ourselves. We're always thinking it's something that we have to get. And we're not recognizing that, that's not really what it's about. Right. Yeah. So, right, in essence, kind of the shadow of this gate is that we get caught up in this endless cycle of suffering because we misconstrue the pressure to evolve. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So it's important to figure out what we are feeling and why.
Right. And again, that piece of why is so important, because ultimately the energy here is about activating the start of something new. Mm-hmm. Right? To bring about that evolution. But if we're constantly chasing something, we're not really looking inside to bring that forward. Right?
So it's a good time for a gratitude journal.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. So now on a deeper level, this shadow is not only individual. So Richard explains that the shadow actually, its greatest power comes from collective frequency. Right? So think about this. The whole world in general is misconstruing this energy, right? On a very collective frequency level. And so we have this massive influence of energy in the world that is searching, right? Searching for change, wanting change, right? How often do we look at something and we can see people who are unsatisfied and are dreaming of something better and really want to bring that out, but struggle on the actionability of it, right? How do I actually bring this change to fruition? What does that look like for me, right?
Sometimes even figuring out what it is that you want to change can be a problem too, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're not happy, they're not quite sure what would make them happy, because it's not really what's going to make them happy, right? Anyway, well, no, that's another whole comment.
Well, and that's the piece though, right? Because again, it's that happiness part, but it's not really about being happy. It's about evolving in a natural way that we're meant to.
Right.
Right? Yeah. And so what ends up happening is, because of this kind of collective frequency on a very genetic level, we're tapping into misinterpretation.
Right.
Right? And the DNA instructions are going, oh, that's what we have to do, as opposed to us really guiding and directing that energy.
Right.
Okay. So okay, where do I want to go from here? So the 30th gate is the conditioning partner. So like, I think I've talked about this a couple times in the past, but not really. Like it's a programming partner. So they work to help each other to grow and develop. Now that one is desire. And what happens is sometimes people will think, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to have desires. I'm not supposed to have those things, right? Because it leads to all of this. And that's not true. That's not what this is about. What it's about is recognizing when the mind takes over and tries to dictate the pressure that we're feeling, okay, and tries to tell us how to release it, right? That's the issue. It's okay to have goals and desires and all that kind of stuff, but we want to be able to actually action them. We don't want to get stuck in them. Right. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about genetics, right, it's not even just our genetics now, right? We can get into epigenetics. We can look at generational. We can look at past lives. We can look at the entire evolutionary process. That's all incorporated in this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this pressure to evolve is so much bigger than us as individuals. Okay, yeah. So imagine, we're carrying all of this weight and all of this pressure, and for the most part, the mind is just going, get away, get away and just be happy.
Just let me be. I don't want to change. I don't want to do anything different because I'm happy.
Right. And so when we look at the fantasy as the shadow, it's not the dreaming or the desire so much as getting stuck there. Right. And the mind will keep us there because in that fantasy, we're happy. In that moment, in that dream, we're caught up in all of these things, and we don't have to be in the here and now with the pressure to move forward.
Yeah.
Right. So what do we do with it? This is where the gift comes in.
What do we do with it, Jen?
Sorry, guys. I know.
I'm going to take notes.
I'm speaking out here because I think it's such a powerful time.
Well, it sounds it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so the gift that comes with this is anticipation. And maybe that's part of my, right? Is this?
Well, and that energy is interesting, isn't it? It can be construed as like anxiety as well. That anticipation energy, right? It can be excitement, construed as excitement or anxiety, or somewhere between the two. Mm-hmm. It's really an interesting energy. So,
yeah. Well, and it is, and it's so neat because anticipation, right? Again, how we perceive it and whether we allow it or not is what's going to change from being in the gift or staying in the shadow, right? And both have their roles, right? I will tell you right off the bat, embracing the shadow is so important. But when we want to bring out this evolutionary impulse that's in us and all around us, we want to open, mm-hmm. right? And so we have to be able to open to this anticipation. So Richard talks about the morphogenic fields. And I could geek out, but I'm going to try to, because we've got time. But basically, the field is found within our DNA, but it also expands, right? So it's all through time and space. And the science behind it, depending on who you follow, some people embrace it, some people don't, whatever resonates for you. But what it's talking about is the inherent memory in nature, in all that is, mm-hmm. right?
So the quantum entanglement feature.
Yeah, I love Jung's kind of, so Carl Jung talked about this perspective of a collective unconsciousness, right? Mm-hmm. And how it kind of holds like the memory of all things, right? We've talked about like Akashic records and things like that, where everything is stored, right? This is all part of this field.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I'm talking about it, that's what we're talking about, right? Is the ability to kind of tap into the energy of this field. All right.
Can I give them a visual on that?
Sure.
So sort of how I see that. So the collective for me, I see it like this big energetic grid that goes all the way around the earth. And we're all kind of attached to it this way, right? Through energy. And so we can tap in and find out information from any number of reasons, sources, from any number of times. Mm-hmm. So I kind of see it like this big spider web thing that goes all the way around the earth that we're tapped into in terms of a visual. That's just how I picture it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, if that helps you, that it might help to understand how that kind of works. I always talk about the Avatar movie, how they take their braids and they attach to the tree in the Avatar, the grandmother tree, to get all the information from all the ancestors and all of the mm-hmm. the world that they're on. And so I kind of see it as the tree is like that bigger grid sort of thing, just in case people need a way to kind of visualize that.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that.
We're definitely all connected, Annie, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that's
quantum entanglement,
right? The crystalline grid, right?
Yeah,
that goes
through
all time and space, as all around the earth, all of that. And each of the gates, so I have this out from Gerald's talk earlier today. But
check that out, folks.
around, right, is connected to a point on the grid. And so they're all the gene keys, all the gates, right? They're all connected to an aspect on this field.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so the 31st and the 41st, right? So we're looking at this kind of connection between the way they work together. So let's look at the 31, because the 31's the archetype of the leader, right? And so what it does is it attunes itself to the higher frequencies of all the great leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we're talking ascended masters, we're talking all of that, right? And so when it taps into that archetypal energy, it's able to anticipate and be excited for allowing that energy to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that way, when we're tapping in, we're using the right energy for what we want to tap in for.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely about being, not thinking.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Like what Laura was saying earlier. It's about being, not thinking.
Yeah. So, yeah, what's really awesome is, okay, we can get caught up in this kind of like single focused agenda. And sometimes we say, okay, expand that. And we want to bring in more. With this gene key, Richard talks about the fact that it has a very single focused agenda, right? It's always tapped in and it wants that next evolutionary energetic grid to come in, right? And it wants to bring it in and it wants to move that forward. So when we talk about, our ability to kind of tap into these different blueprints for life, this is where we talk about downloads, premonitions, visions, being able to connect with all of that is all part of this energy, right? So when I say, super powerful, like this is super powerful stuff.
So I have a question, and maybe this is part of a conversation that we have. It's now or not, whatever. So when I do DNA activations, we're lighting up 24 codons of the DNA in order to make sure that somebody is really connected. So I'm wondering how that would figure in with this kind of a gate, like whether it's a really good time to do that because you're able to access more within the codons, or whether it's not a good time to have a DNA activation. So what do you think about that in terms of how that would work? Because what we actually do is it's like etheric surgery. I go in and I actually put concentrated light into each of the codons, the DNA codons across the neck, in order for people to start to access a whole lot more light and information. And so that's what I'm wondering.
This is such a beautiful time. Such a beautiful time because we are in the energy of the start codon. In this energy, all of our genetic code is going to follow whatever this energy tells us. Right?
Cool.
So when we talk about setting intention and things like that, if we're telling our energy and our genes, hey, tap in to this crystalline grid, tap into this blueprint, stop trying to dictate what comes next, allow that pressure to come naturally and unfold based on what that grid, what that higher source energy is telling you. Right? Like, how incredible is that? Right?
Yeah.
So this gift of anticipation, again, it's about clearing the mind, right? So we can't go into something like that and say, okay, well, I'm gonna set it, and I want it to make sure I'm happy, and I want to make sure that I'm content, and I want to make sure that I have this experience or that experience. No. That's not what it's about. Right? Not at all. But it is about going in and saying, I want to open to what's possible. Right? I want to open to the energy of the universe and what it wants to bring.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what the DNA activation does, right? It doesn't guarantee a happiness thing. It's about evolution and the soul evolution. And then, tapping into what makes you wonderful, right? Your internal.
Yeah. I would recommend it. If you guys can do it, go book a session with Janice, because this is such a beautiful time for it, right? I mean, it really... It's such an amazing thing, right? Because we talk about this unfolding. So, okay, we're out and we're doing these things, and we're getting, a little bit of a blueprint from here and a little bit of blueprint from there, and we're kind of starting to put the pieces together, and we're beginning to understand a little bit about what this frequency looks like. And then boom, right? This raising our frequency for anticipation, more details come in, right? Because we're opening, we're not trying to figure it out, we're not trying to resolve it, we're just going, okay, now what? Right? And that energy comes in. Again, we're not seeking it, we're not making it happen. And yet there are things that we can do to prepare ourselves for it, and to work on opening and raising that frequency, and moving ourselves in that direction. A beautiful example that Richard actually talks about is Mozart.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he gets into, explaining how here's this person who, he did have lessons and he was taught and all of that, but where did these beautiful masterpieces come from? Right? Yeah. He was able to connect right into that morphogenetic field and bring them into existence because they were ready and they were there for him. Right?
And there's so much there, guys.
There's so much there.
So
right?
Much.
This is where we talk about like the knowing, not knowing, right? Yeah. If I think I know, I'm not open to what can come. But if I stay in a place of not knowing, all of the knowledge is available. Yeah. And when I need it, it can come in, right?
Which is kind of what we do when we're channeling, right? Mm-hmm. We're calling upon that morphogenetic field to bring in information. So oftentimes when you guys see us and we're like on here channeling, like going on and on, it's often because we're tapped into that, and that's how we're doing it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and it is the energy of creation, because we're creating all of these new possibilities, right? But it's more than that. It's about actually manifesting them and bringing them into action, right? Richard talks about the difference between genius and non-genius being that genius manifests, whereas non-genius dreams, right? And it is that piece of how do we allow this anticipation to move us to a place of actually bringing something to fruition, to actually manifesting that which is already there through us. Make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like, so in my channeling class, we talk about outpicturing. So you have like your sanctuary and you've got like this altar in your sanctuary and stuff, right? And so when we get things and we put them on our altar, then we outpicture to bring it into the reality. So for instance, if I was to get like, a key, for instance, or even let's say a wand. Okay. So I see a wand in my meditation. And so what am I going to do? I see it in my head. I can feel it. I can picture it. I can draw it. And so I'm going to go and make it. And then I'm going to put it on my altar. So it's kind of an outpicturing experience. And so that's a simple example, I think, of what you're trying to get to, right? Is like taking what we want to create from the morphogenetic field, like in a meditation, and then actually creating it for ourselves in the physical, which is super powerful. Okay, confirmation. Thank you. I just got like chills up. Like, okay, so outpicturing what we get connected to, and that's where the power of all of this stems from.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, and it's amazing creative energy. We bring it to the siddhi of this, that kind of enlightened place of all of this, and it's the gift of emanation, right? And so when Richard's talking about this, he's explaining that, this ability to see our body as this, he calls, the gene keys, it's like this holographic mirror, right, of the universe. And so we're constantly mirroring, right? And it's important because the source of the mirror comes from this gene key, right?
Okay.
That start codon, that very first, right? And it's a direct connection with the morphogenetic field, right? So when we really like break it down, it's like, okay, we're connecting with the start codon of the cosmos, of everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we explore emanation, we're exploring this kind of thing that can't really be approached or fully understood, not by the mind. Right. But the doctrine of emanation, it talks about this kind of fractal model of the universe. And so we talk about this when we talk about the crystalline grid and fractals and all of that kind of stuff. And it's this idea that this initial start is constantly emanating these fractal mirrors of itself indefinitely, right? And so we're all connected to all of that.
Isn't that exciting?
It's so cool, right? Like the possibilities right now are beautiful, right? So in the I Ching, the 41st it's called decrease, and I actually had the card out. What did I do with it? You know me, it's just like, whoa.
It's about wanting to ground, yes.
The 41st.
Beautiful.
And it's called decrease. And it's interesting because we're talking about this like expansiveness that's beyond our ability to actually comprehend. Why on earth is this called decrease? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. But it's actually quite fitting because Richard talks about this as basically becoming this like black hole that's kind of pulling in all of these infinite pieces. And at the highest level of what this is, that highest vibration is that oneness. There is no separation. There is no individual anything. Experience, individual experience, it ceases to exist in this space, right? And all of the different Siddhic states that we talk about throughout the entire year emanate from this one, right? And so it's such an amazing energy that is everything and nothing and everything all at once.
That is a hard concept to grab. But yes.
Right now.
Right now. So perhaps decreasing our ego.
Yeah.
Says Kaylee. Yeah. Well, I mean, anytime you think about the fact that we're all connected and we're all one, there's no room for the ego in that concept, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's such a beautiful kind of thing, right? Okay, you get this energy that comes in, and there's this pressure, and you go, oh, okay, there's pressure, right? And it's for this evolution, for this change, for bringing out something new, for maybe working on a shadow aspect and looking at, okay, how this has governed my life for so long. How can I begin to release this and move in and embrace the gift of it? And how can I, accept what this has done or brought to my awareness so that I can move into this next kind of phase and bring this gift, which Richard talks about the gifts as our genius, what we're here to bring to the world, right? Well, that's about manifesting a way of being in the world and holding space for that. Right? I mean, wow, like goosebumps. Okay.
They are definitely present, guys.
Yeah. Well, and they are, because I mean, this energy that we're in is energy that allows us to open to them.
Yeah.
Right? To really gain that guidance. And if we can step out of ego, step out of the things that hold us back and the things that we try to get away from, then when that pressure comes in to evolve, to change, to do something different, we can be open to the possibilities of what that looks like in our experience.
And yet everybody's terrified to change.
Fair enough.
Who's terrified to change? Let's ask that question.
Right.
Actually, let's ask it better. Let's ask it in who is open to change.
Mm-hmm.
Who's open to change? Because that's really what this is about.
And really, if we think about it, nothing
fan warp.
Hold on. Right here on the back of my desk.
Fan warp.
Thank you, Kaylee. Yeah, exactly. So
hesitantly raise his hand. Yes. In terms of change. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny, right? Because there is this, like, nothing is constant but change, and yet nothing changes.
Yes.
Right?
Well, the only constant is change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting used to the new way of being. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, change can be nice, but it's the uncertainty of it.
Is. Well, and that's the piece, right? Is it can
Yeah.
be scary, and it's different. It's not our familiar pattern. It's not the way that we're used to showing up. And even if we want it, it's still hard.
Yeah. Exactly. Hello. Thank you for joining us. And we have Ocean Garnet. I like change, but fear the outcome. I hope for the best, but expect the worst. Yes. That can happen. I think that's a common sentiment, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it is because, when we change, everything around us has to change on some level, right? It doesn't have to be huge change or anything like that, but on some level, there is this, again, that outpouring, right? That mirroring and that fractal energy. On some level, everything else also has to change.
Yeah.
Right? And that is scary. Right? At the same time, if we're going through a process of change and those around us are not going through a process of change, that is also very difficult.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Because then you have the experience where somebody's standing still and the other one is changing, and it's kind of like I want to say separation, but that's not the word, because we're all connected, right?
Right.
But it's a change in the experience that you have, so the dynamic is different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and this is where individual experiential journeys can sometimes have different paths.
Right.
Right. And so we come together, that saying, right? For a moment, for a time, for a lifetime. Like, there is this kind of idea that, there are going to be times where somebody has a huge impact, but they were only in our life for a moment. There's times where somebody's going to have that and they're with us throughout the entire experience and multiple experiences. Thank you.
We've been around for a few lifetimes together. We've done this before. Well, maybe not podcasts, but something.
I don't know about the podcast piece, but definitely
lots of other stuff.
Yeah. But it's really interesting, right? Because if we can allow the pressure is going to be there anyway. Right? That pressure for evolution and change is always a part of our experience on some level, right? And so if we can recognize that pressure is actually okay.
Yeah, it's the feeling the uncomfortableness of the pressure and going, it's when we say, oh, I don't really like that. And then we say it's not okay.
Yeah.
And then it becomes
resistance. And suffering. Yeah. But if instead we were able to go, oh, pressure. Okay, that's interesting. All right, what is this pressure telling me? Okay, breathing.
How am I experiencing it too, right? Because our experience of the pressure may vary depending on who we are, how we present and all that, right?
Yeah, and then moving with that pressure, organically guiding, right? Okay, I feel this pressure to, do this thing or bring this thing into the world or, whatever it looks like. And then instead of, making a hard plan on how to do it, can we open? Right? Because fantasy is getting caught up in all of that, right? As opposed to opening to the guides and go, cool, now what do I do?
Yeah. And that requires trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I find a lot of us have difficulty.
Yeah.
In trust.
I remember a meditation I did years ago. And the image that came in the meditation was climbing onto a roller coaster.
That sounds about right for the spiritual journey.
And buckling in and going, okay, you're conducting this roller coaster. You're going to take it where you want it to go. I'm buckled in. You just help. But I'm ready for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was such a beautiful, scary, and enlightenment moment of complete surrender, and yet, holy crap.
Yeah. What does this mean? What is it that this means? Where am I going?
I don't know where this is taking me. I can't even see what the ride looks like, but I'm in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, Gerald. Please keep your arms and head inside the ride at all times. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's been a beautiful roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right? And being able to recognize that not every part of it has been pleasant. And there are definitely parts that I am not a huge fan of. But
so
they
don't
come
feel good.
And they go.
Yeah.
Right?
That this too shall pass is like, that's a big one for me. Mm-hmm. When I'm feeling it, okay, this too shall pass. Yeah. Allow it to pass. This too shall pass. Yeah. And I'm in the depth.
And it's interesting, right? Like we do it, and I notice, we both do it often, even in the show when we're talking about these heavy things. We take that breath,
yeah,
right? And yeah. It's such an important thing to make a natural part of your experience, right? We don't, as a people, breathe.
We use like this part of our lung instead of like this part of the lung.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when we find the pause and we take the breath, everything after can be different.
That's right. So that's like allowing yourself to change, allowing yourself to be what it needs to be.
Yeah.
So pause and breathe.
Mm-hmm.
That's the advice.
And that's going to get you through this energy, and it's going to bring all kinds of inspiration if you allow it.
Yeah. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We need Gerald with his like thumbs up or whatever it is that does the.
Oh, I don't know. Which one is that? Hold on. I think I can make it happen. Reactions. Gerald taught me this, that I can actually go up here and I can hit the button and make it happen. Why isn't it doing? Oh no, that's not it. What's that?
That was a little orb. Do we have ghosts?
There we go. It's doing it, but it's doing it behind my curtain for whatever reason. I think it's decided that my curtain is like part of me. Anyway, you'll have to expand out if you want to see it.
That's funny. We'll have to have Gerald do it next time he's on.
Yeah.
I thought it was something like this, or.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we are. There's some light.
Yeah, I unlike Gerald, I have not memorized all the bits and pieces of how it works.
Try a peace sign. Nice.
Let's see. Oh no, that's balloons.
Oh, that's balloons.
2 peace signs. I think this one might be. Nope.
There we go.
2 thumbs up. There we go.
There. Happy New Year.
This is the mind trying to figure it out, as opposed to just letting them.
And we have our support people in place. Mm-hmm. Right, Gerald?
Much appreciated. All the reactions are great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's going to be times where we're going through it and we're going to get let's see if it'll do this one. Will it do it? Yeah. We're going to go through the storms, but that's okay, Because when we come out, if we've allowed it to
go support.
Woohoo! All the love for the experience, allowing it to be the experience.
There we go. Your topic has been brought to you by emojis. Active emojis, animated emojis. This is your talk today on Twillow Talk.
Oh, too funny.
That's cool. Yes, there you go.
So what
that is it.
Do you all feel
excuse me,
resonates for you or is aligned for you to sit in the energy to bring forward, right? Like what are you being called to open to?
Mm-hmm. Asking for a friend. Jen, are you drawing a card this session?
Oh, yeah. Well,
the affirmation one, maybe, right?
Okay. Well, I'll do an affirmation one, and we just won't talk about it because we don't have that much time.
Yeah, so we'll just do the other.
But I can do the.
You can tell your friend we're going to do that. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So this is the card that we're going to do every session, whether we talk about a card or not, right? Because this is our action for moving forward.
Correct.
And then this was the card that we used last session as a topic to talk about.
Okay.
So I can pull from both,
because I think it's going to help us with what to do going forward. And maybe I will pull one as well in terms of where we're going.
Mm-hmm. My friend I love
it. We love you, Gerald.
Am I letting fear stop me?
That kind of goes with this. Breaking barriers for growth.
Can't make this stuff up, people.
This one says, I am expanding beyond limitations into joy and freedom. And so you've got this new growth.
That's
and all
so
of this.
Much this energy.
Yeah.
Expanding beyond limitations, new growth, new possibilities. Oh,
Happy New Year.
I love it. Happy New Year. And don't let fear get in the way of creating, right?
Yes.
This is the Start Codon. This is the time where we're telling our DNA, okay, let's move forward. Don't let fear block that. Are you experiencing a mountain of fear right now? Are you stalling, freezing, or giving up? The juicy secret is that you are the boss of fear. You are unstoppable. But it's up to you to see that action. See that by taking action. Right? And
that is like perfectly what you were just talking about. Absolutely. You can't make this stuff up.
You can't make this stuff up. So today's soul action. Today, be brave and do it scared. Choose one fear to move through. You are in need of a hero. Become that hero. You do it for you, right? You take on that action and bring it forward.
Thank you, Ocean.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. Both the cards were perfectly aligned. I'm sure this one will be too.
This might be more the advice, right?
How, what do we need to do? Right? In this energy, in this week of creation and connecting with all the possibilities. Ask for guidance.
There you go. Tap in to that morphogenetic field we were just talking about.
Again, you can't make this stuff up, right? We're not trying to figure it out. We're not trying to have all of the answers. We really, really do want to tap into anticipation, to tap into the morphogenetic field, to allow it to give us the message that it needs to give us, right?
Ask for guidance. And isn't that beautiful?
Ask for guidance. All right. I'll read you because I like to read you from the book.
Well, these ones are so beautifully written.
Oh, they are.
Right?
They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Ask for guidance. You are not alone, grandchild. You are surrounded by guides and spirit helpers in the form of grandmothers, grandfathers, and beloved ancestors. This is it. They see you and know your sacred journey. They know your sacred journey. Okay, these guides dwell in the mysterious realm of the sacred feminine, and your spirit lives with them. Your spirit walks with them and can access all the wisdom that ever was and ever will be.
Morphogenetic field. Just a line grid.
You have all of the answers you will ever need, but your mind needs your spirit's help. Mind doesn't have the answers. Mm-hmm. Sit in silence, visit the stillness of the sacred feminine, and ask your spirit for help. Consult your wise ancestors, commune with the grandmothers. Your guides know that your earth walk is challenging, for you came here knowing that you would forget who you are. Your spirit helpers remember and are here to assist you. Ask them to give you clear signs when you ask a question or simple direction about how to go on. They use the elusive language of the sacred feminine, gut feelings, intuition, inner knowing. Nothing in the mind. Follow that hunch. Listen to that quiet whisperer, or turn back when you feel like an invisible wall has appeared before you. Spiritual guidance is yours for the asking. Then listen to what you receive. Your spirit helpers await your request.
And they are so awaiting it.
Mm-hmm.
They're always like, just ask us. We're here. Just ask. They can't interfere unless we ask. So ask.
And the energy is there. This is the energy to tap in. All that is, all that was, all that ever will be
is there.
Right? And it's not to say that we can't tap into this at any other time. It's just that this energy really allows for the contemplation and the meditation and the awareness of what it is to move through this process and to connect with this energy. Right? And then we can carry that, because this is the start. We can carry that into our genetic field moving forward, into our 3D world moving forward, and into everything else moving forward.
So love. Let's pull love and move that forward.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm a stickler.
Love.
Let's bring love.
Yeah.
On this journey with us. And compassion and hope and trust. Let's bring those things with us on this beautiful journey.
Yeah. I have that song now going through my head.
Which one?
What the world needs now.
Yes.
Love. Sweet love. It's so true. And we have the ability to bring that into us on a deep genetic level, that we can then have that lived experience emanate from us and create that and manifest that with everybody that we connect with and come in contact with. Love wins.
Yep, it does. That is the only thing that is true. Yeah. The rest is our interpretation of experience. So,
wow.
That kind of brings us to the end of the day. Well, the end of the show, not the end of the day.
The end of the show for today.
The end of the show. What have you got going on this week?
Well, I already did the other show I had this week with Gerald. So we did a second part to the human design, and we were looking at the centers. So we had done a previous one before, and we had talked about a couple of the centers, and today we really focused in on 2 more and decided to kind of expand the series out a bit so that we can spend a little bit more time with each of the centers. So that is on Gerald's YouTube, Tarot Stash, his YouTube, and you can also find it on my webpage eventually. I still have to put it up there, but I plan to.
It'll be there.
And it should be on my Facebook and my YouTube as well. Yeah, so that. And then a couple other things coming up, but they're not going to be live just yet. So
yeah, we're working on lots of stuff, guys. Like there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes right now because we're in this New Year thing, right? So that's coming.
Yes, it's on my YouTube and Facebook channels. Yes. Yes, I did get them connected. Yeah. It's not on my my holistic self. I have to still share it onto that, but it is on my Facebook page and it's on the YouTube from my holistic self.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, please, to both our channels on YouTube as well as, on Facebook would be great too. Follow us on there. And thank you, Gerald. It was fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. All about that Happy New Year. Hi, Ocean. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us and sharing your beautiful energy with us. It really helps our show and it helps us as individuals. We just love having you all here.
So much
it helps us fill our cup. And so we hope to share that and fill yours as well. So please join us again next week. Same time, same place, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. And yes, Happy New Year to you too, Annie.
Do you have anything coming up?
I have an Aqualead 2 on the weekend coming up, and we have I have a podcast actually next weekend, so not this coming weekend, but the one after, with friend Rhonda. So that will be on Facebook. That'll be a Facebook Live. And early in February, we've got a Reiki 1 class. So if you're wanting to jump on that bandwagon and put some framework to some of your spirituality, that's really what I try to do with the Reiki 1, then jump on there and stay tuned on twillowlifestyle.ca for more stuff that's coming up.
Yeah. And if you're aligned with it and if it feels right and resonates for you, I would highly recommend reaching out to Tanis for that
the DNA activation. Yes.
DNA activation. Yeah. It's a great time.
Perfect timing for it. Absolutely. So we're sending you tons of love. Cue the hearts, please.
Cue the hearts. Cue the hearts.
Thank you. Sending you tons of love and hoping that you'll join us next week. Same time, same place, 5 p.m. Eastern for next week's Twillow Talk. Take care, everyone.